Just making an observation, your young bloke, Buster, does he think it's normal for an NRL player to change clubs so many times?
Well, he actually said to me the other day, he goes, Dad, can I get a jersey of every team in the comp? I said, mate, we're almost there. We've got 5.
G'day everyone, welcome to Footy Talk with Wado, Woodsy and Maroon. We're going to have a bit of fun today. There's a couple of really good topics getting around and of course take a look at the football over the past round 5. Wado, firstly, welcome to you, old mate.
Thank you, Maroon. Obviously not a great weekend for us Sharkies. Pretty disappointed change room after 20-0 up at the start of the game, and when we first began it was like everything sort of just clicked into gear, and I was sitting up in the coach's box like, right, we're on for one today, but then unfortunately we just couldn't put it away. And, you know, you can't take anything away from the Warriors too. They were outstanding. And, but yeah, a really, really tough loss for us too.
Well, what I wanted to do, Wade, I'll come back to that because as a punter on the hill, you know, a bloke like me who's never played the game but watched it for 50 years, I want to ask you and Woodsy about the mindset when you lose a big lead like that. When someone's chasing you and you're in the lead by 20 or 26 and they catch you. But we'll come back to it. Woodsy, how was your first week as a Manly Sea Eagle?
Yeah, good day, Maroon. It was really good. It wasn't actually at Manly. It was at Mudgee.
Yep.
Once the contracts were signed, I think it was Tuesday afternoon, I got in the car and headed straight over there. Well, it was a fair drive, 3.5 hours, but
it's a great place, but mate.
it's a good place. No dramas this time with the Sea Eagles, so it was good to come back and not have to talk about what happens off the field. But no, it was a really good week. It was got to get to know a lot of the boys, be in their meetings and just see how it all is ran. You know, it's a lot different to what was happening at the Dragons, and you know, get some familiar faces in Shane Flanagan, Jimmy Dimmick. It was a really good place to be. Probably disappointing result for the boys. But, all in all, it was a good time.
Yeah, good. And did you get a chance while you're up there to, I'm just thinking respectfully, the way you're going through NRL clubs at the moment, did you catch up with the
out for the Mudgee Dragons? One of my mates, Clay Priest, is out there, captain coach.
Oh, yeah.
He said he might be able to sling me a bone if that doesn't go well down here.
Company car. Beautiful. All
Work
right.
at Kelly's, the pub.
Yeah, you got Kelly's. And I always liked the wool pack when I was out
wool
there.
pack. It's a bit rough for me. I don't want to be a second at front of that. There's a few fights. I don't want to get involved in there.
And some good restaurants out there. Boys, let me start. I know that it was another sensational weekend of rugby league. We even had, after extra time, your game was a draw.
Yep.
But I wanted to move in the direction, firstly, of that game at Shark Park, where the Warriors and the Sharks led 20-0, then 26-6. So I'm going to invite you both to talk about this. You're up 26-6. Obviously, you know, in a modern NRL game, even if there's a half to go, it's probably not a winning lead, but probably something in your psyche just relaxes a little bit. Is that a fair comment?
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, for sure. It could be a fair comment. You get out to, especially the games where points are easily found. Like, we didn't really have to early on work hard for our points. We'd go down for one set and we'd score in that set, and then, you know, we'd kick off, get a penalty, make our way down, and then score again. So when you don't have to search for points, and they do come a bit easier, you haven't really had to earn it, you know, through building pressure and consecutive sets. I think you can maybe lose your way and lose track of the hard parts of the game. And if you haven't done a lot of defence, you can get into this sort of attacking style of footy. And Warriors were actually really good at just staying patient. I know it sounds strange to be 26-6 down, but they just stayed patient and stayed to their game plan. And Shawnee Johnson actually kicked really well the whole game. And they swung the whole momentum of the game off the back of his kicking game and their kick chase, just through their effort and their commitment. And then they found a try, found a bit more belief, found another try, and all of a sudden it was game back on. And like I said, it's a disappointing one for us as you know, the Sharks, and we're going to have to dive into it. We've had a few days off because we've got the bye this week, but we'll dive into it at the back end of the week. We've got some questions we need to answer to ourselves, but you can't take anything away from the Warriors. They showed tremendous spirit. They just kept fighting, and they found a way to win the game. So congratulations to them.
I'll come to them because obviously there is a lot to say about the Warriors probably having heart, respectfully, that we haven't seen in the last few seasons. But let me come back to that first thing, Woodsy. So it's 26-6, then it's 26-12, then it's 26-18. Does the winning side start to think, oh, shit, we're going to get done here? And then the panic, is there panic?
Oh, not so much panic. I think it's more frustration. You know, everything you try and... Look, I've been in situations like that as well. So I remember we were playing at Tigers one day and we were playing Luckett Oval, we're beating Canberra, I think it was 14 or 18-0. But while we're playing, like every time we got an opportunity, we scored first time. And so we just thought, we're on today. But then when we defended our line, they were just rolling us upfield, and you could just feel our first up contact was off, and you just knew if they were going to get some ball and get 50-50 possession, because at the time we probably had about 6 or 7 sets to their 2, and those two sets they were incomplete. They dropped the ball and just gave us some good attacking sets at their line. But then when we did defend, you could just feel we're not on here. If we don't pull our heads in and get our D right, this could be it could quickly change, and that did happen that game. We ended up getting beat by Canberra. I think it was like 22-18, and you get a feel for it, don't you?
Yeah.
Like at times you think, we're right on top of these guys, but then your defense is off. They score a try, they score another try, and they go, hold on, they're back into it here, and you start to sort of go, maybe that first
tighten up a little bit.
and you sort of the passes that you were tipping on earlier in the game, or the little 50-50 things that you were having a crack at, you don't do it, and you just go back into your shell, and you just tuck it under your arm, and you're just going to kick long, get the ball down the other end. It does change your mindset of how you're playing.
And Wado, the Warriors, obviously, I think, although it's only 5 rounds in, it's fair to say the Dogs and the Warriors have made very astute decisions with their coach, very good decisions with their coaches. And the Warriors, we're seeing starch from them, online defence to match the best in the league. And Sean Johnson's turned the clock back, I thought, yesterday.
Yeah, well, for me, it was actually they showed something in the early periods of this season. They've really shown, great commitment in their defence, and that's been a standout for me. You could notice how much they've improved in that area and how much they're playing for each other and how hard they're working for each other. But it was a different aspect they showed Sunday night against us, because we got out to 30 points, right? It was the ability for them to go, no, we're going to hang in here.
Yeah.
We're going to hang in here. We're going to keep fighting. We're going to stick to our plan. We're going to keep believing. We're going to keep fighting. And eventually got the win. And that takes a lot as a team. It takes a lot of commitment and understanding and belief. And that's really, it's probably the first time they've been put in this situation this season under the new coach. And, their strength of the year at the start of the year has definitely been their defence and their willingness to compete and commit for each other. But they showed a whole nother level of commitment against us on Sunday night, being able to come back and steal that game.
I reckon it's the style of plays he's got as well, Wado. Like he brought Dylan Walker in the off-season, who's got the leg speed. Jackson Ford, he was at the Dragons. He didn't get much of an opportunity down there, but he's such a high work rate player, phenomenal in the gym, and just can run all day. And then you chuck in the likes of, Tavanga, Curran that they've already had. They're not the biggest of blokes, but their effort areas have been unbelievable. And it's just like they believe in the system. Andrew Webster, the new coach, has come over. Obviously, he's brought some things that he's learnt from Penrith. But what he's actually brought to the group, they believe in their systems. And like Wade said, they were down 26-6, but they just believed in the process that they've gone there with a game plan and they didn't change. Normally back in the day, you'd see them flick balls out the back or, try to throw the Hail Mary passes. But they just got to the end of the sets and Sean Johnson just kicked you guys out of the game, and they just kept working. And then they forced some errors. Ronaldo dropped one. Talakai dropped one on the play of the ball. And they just kept sticking to their plan. Normally, with the Warriors sides of the past, they'd go completely away from the game plan, and then you'd be like, what sort of Warriors side? If the Warriors were on, it was always a scary task. But when they're off, you knew you had a chance of putting the score on the opposition.
Well, a game like that does so much for a team's confidence because like you said, we got out to a 20-0 lead. We should be putting that to bed. We should be managing that game and playing the footy that we can go and putting that to bed. And, the Warriors know that if they get out to a lead, right, you can try and manage the game and win from in front. But now they have the understanding and also the belief that if they're behind, they're never out of the game. They'll believe they can win any game no matter what happens. And as a team, you have certain victories. Wins and results are not all created equal. And that performance on the weekend, for them to manage to come back and get that win will do so much for their confidence in their team.
And they've done it all year too. They were behind by the Bulldogs for most of that game, and they got a try late in the game. They went up the Cowboys, knocked off the Cowboys. Yeah, and they almost got the Roosters. You boys commentated that one. They played so well that game.
A lot of these teams we're seeing play with a lot more heart this year. Obviously the Dogs, Warriors. The other one is Newcastle. Yep. And Newcastle, no Kalen Ponga, no Elliott. One of the Saifidi boys, Jacob Saifidi, is still suspended. Kurt Mann didn't play on the weekend. They turn up and they finish, a 32-all draw with your new team, Manly Woodsy. And again, I don't know what that says about Manly. I think on paper, they should have won that game by 18, 20 points.
Yeah, very similar to Sharks. Probably we didn't get out to a big enough lead like Sharks, but I think we're up 10 or 12-0 Maroon, and we had our opportunities, and everything we sort of spoke about, we didn't do. We wanted to get there with a mindset of starting really fast, which we started fast for the first 5-10 minutes, but then we let them back in the game. We had a couple of errors. We lost Olakau'atu in the Simbi, and that really changed the game. They went, they scored a couple of tries while we missed him in that period. But they're a side that, they've got all those players out, but they haven't cared. They've got all the young blokes that have come in. They've got Hetherington, young John's off the bench. He started on the weekend. He had an absolute blinder of a game, and they're just doing their role perfectly. They look fit, and they look hungry. The other sides, like Dominic Young, he was in reserve grade for 2 weeks, but that was one of the best games I've seen from a winger on the weekend. He ran for, I think, 200+ meters. He scored 4 tries, but he did all the tough stuff too. And they're all on the same page. Like you watch their defensive line, they're all just traveling. They're working in the same position. But yeah, for us, that was one that we let go. 32 points for a draw. It's not good enough. You don't want to be letting in those points. And we're lucky we didn't lose the game, but in the sheds after the game, it felt like a loss. The boys took that one pretty hard.
Yeah, draws they're a weird result, aren't they?
We
George?
spoke about it the other week,
you don't know how to feel about it. Like, you're not quite happy. Like, I'd almost rather a loss.
To be honest with you, Wado, at the end of the game, our boys, it was like we lost the game. And you spoke to the Newcastle boys, it was like they won a game because we in the fair income departments, we should have won that.
Yeah,
and
you should have.
We had some opportunities, we bombed them, and just some some one-on-one misses and just some silly brain moments in the game that cost us.
And then we had that Bradman Best try, to which
going,
Adam O'Brien said something like, "Now we are picking the fly shit out of the pepper," or something along those lines.
I did see that.
Yeah.
That's a fair call.
Yeah.
I did see that that comment quoted.
We all thought it was a try. Everyone on the bench, I was behind the bench, the trainers, and they were sending messages to run out there to give the boys behind the huddle.
Yeah.
So we couldn't believe that it was no try.
Boys, the other game, of course, look, the Doggies have won 3 games this year. They got off to an ordinary start, but since then, they're playing, again, we say it, with a lot of heart, and they are winning football games, and they are winning this game last night, where perhaps in the last couple of years they turn it up and they don't win, but they score a couple of late tries. It's 14-all. Burton misses the goal. Then he kicks a cracker of a field goal. We've seen some great field goals this season, haven't we? But what about clutch players you've played with? Players like that, like we've seen that Cleary field goal and that Burton field goal, those miracle shots, You played with anyone like that?
Yeah,
Wado?
the one that stands out for me straight away is Jimmy Maloney. Like, if you game on the line, kick from the sideline or a field goal, like, he's the man. He could have missed all his goals that night, but if the one that counted from the sideline to win the game, Jimmy would kick. That's just what Jimmy did. Like, he could go down. He played without fear, Jimmy. No fear, no worry about repercussions or consequences. He'd run a shape, throw a cutout ball, get an intercept, and the winger would run 100 metres and score a try. We'd go back down the next minute, throw the cutout ball, hit the winger for our winger to score the try.
Yeah.
He'd go back there 3 times in the game and just, live by the sword, die by the sword. But certainly, like I said, he could miss every goal all night, but then if there was a goal from the sideline to win the game, Jim Maloney would kick it 100%.
Would he?
Yeah, there wasn't much in between the years with Jimmy. I played him a few times. He just iced it all the time. But for me, it'd be Pat Richards.
Yeah.
He's got the nickname Iceman. He gave it to himself. So I'll go into that in a second. But every time, we're at the Tigers and we needed a field goal or a kick to win the game, we could just rely on Paddy, whether it was 10 metres out, 20, 30 or 40. He was just unbelievable at just getting himself in the right position. And if you ever seen him strike a ball, he just hits it so well. And never forget, we were playing Gold Coast round 1. I think it was 2015 or 16. And there's a couple of young boys debut, Kyle Lovett. And we got to, I think it was Golden Point. And it was about 30 metres out. And I think we went to Brooksy and then he pumped back to Paddy Richards.
I do remember this, yeah.
And he's just smoked it from about 45 out. And then, the boys are on a high. He was doing the Fox commentary afterwards. So we're all in there. We're all pumped up. And he walks in and he goes, "Boys, call me the Iceman."
I hope, because he really did. I hope I'm not taking credit away from someone else, but he started all the spiral kicks from the kickoffs. So he was the first one to really place the ball in the tee, and instead of just kicking it off, he started doing these torpedo kickoffs.
He used it as a weapon.
Yeah.
So, and he used to use these funny tees, like they were a bit higher, and the way he'd set the ball up, he'd put it like normally they do traditional, face.
Yeah,
what is
end
it,
over
like,
end,
end
yeah,
over end.
yeah,
But
yeah.
he'd place it back, sort of. I don't know how you'd say it, but yeah, he changed the whole way, and he taught a lot of the boys at the club, and we used to use it as a weapon because I remember one day at Leichhardt Oval, we were playing against Manly, and we just came out of half time. We had a good lead, and we just wanted to, get off to a flying start. He puts out this towering torpedo kickoff, and Brett Stewart didn't even get close to it. We picked the ball up and scored. Great start to the second half. So
This is great. I tell you what, boys, I won't stop you because it's wonderful. This is a positive West Tigers story, and I think that
I'm trying for the boys.
NRL needs this.